This week, the county council expressed support for a plan to increase rapid bus transit lines along I-270 corridor, as opposed to either an extension of the Metro Red Line or adding additional lanes to I-270 for cars. Mike, I want to go to you. I mean, if we learned nothing from COVID, it should be this. People appeared to like to commute in their own cars. They didn't want to be in mass transit. So why does the council keep pushing plans that consumers do not want? Now, you mentioned east-west traffic patterns in the county. Is this, you know, the idea of just going north-south to Frederick doesn't seem to be the solution.
No, it doesn't. I mean, part of the challenge continues to be, if you're going to do transit, and I agree with you, I think we've recognized that, especially coming out of a pandemic, people are going to put their own personal safety and aren't going to go into places where there are lots of folks kind of clustered together. And that may take a while for us to get back to that. But if you're ultimately going to do transit, you have to do something that's a very fixed pathway, right? We know that if you're going to see economic development, you're going to have people use things. It's got to be in places that they are, and it can't be movable. And we keep trying to talk about bus rapid transit, and we just don't have good examples of how that's working in the county and working well. And candidly, we've yet to actually come up with a way to make that pay for itself. Our fare box recovery on our regular transportation, our regular transit has always lagged because we don't have enough density on the routes where people are traveling from. And so now, how do you make that work for bus rapid transit? And it's not just putting a bus line down, it's actually coming up with a way to make sure that the development is supporting that as well, so that people are in those places. So I mean, there's a whole lot of moving parts there, but just to say we're going to do transit and that's going to solve our traffic problem is just one little part of the conversation. You've got to be looking at all the other pieces.
Well, I mean, I think one of the things I recall is that back in the days when we were live in studio, one of our guests had to take our wonderful bus service, and as nice as it is, you know, from his home in Rockville over to our studios was very difficult. It took him over an hour just to make a very short commute because he, you know, didn't have a car for a while. So we've got to find a way to move people around that's going to make it more convenient and attractive for people. And so, Laurie, you know, how do we get the idea that we need more roadways and more development of roadways in the county, into the county council?
Well, the people that really want that are too busy on the road and too busy going to work to really go out and complain about it. So all the other activists who are out in home, or the retired people, they're all going out and they're the squeaky wheel that everyone's listening to. So that's a big problem, because I really do believe that most people do want better roads in our county, and this whole, you know, looking at Virginia versus Maryland, we're falling behind. So we really need to fix that, and technology is going to keep improving things so that you know, there'll be driverless cars that will pick us up and take us somewhere, and more electric options or whatever. I just feel like we should be more focused about commuting to work using mass transit more, and not you know, all the other things we like to do, shopping and all that should all be by car. You know, like people with children, they can't get around. The carpenter who has
to get to work at 6 o'clock in the morning, you know, that buses aren't going to be available to them. And the idea of taking an Uber or a driverless car somewhere, just those aren't realistic for the vast majority of our citizens in Montgomery County. I think we hate cars. The council hates cars. Let's just be clear about it.
And I bet you, how many of them actually use mass transit themselves?
Yeah. Well, and the reality is, it's got to be a yes and, right? It's not this or that. I think most rational people go, yes, it wouldn't be bad to have better access to transit, but that's not going to solve the problem. That's going to be a piece of it. And so how do you do roads and transit and be able to have that conversation? And again, we've talked about this before. We always kind of want to make this a binary, right? It's this or that, and it can't be that. It's got to be this and. We've got to be focusing on both if we're going to really address transportation.
Oh, Mike, you should be running for county executive. I think you should call. When we come back from this short break,
the filing deadline, I guess I could.
Part of the unwashed masses that are running for county executive. Huh?